Okay, Ororo. Give it a try.
Wins?
X-Men 97 introduced a whole new subplot in its 4th episode with Forge and Storm spending some quality time in Forge's Texas home. For those of you who do not know, Forge and Storm go way back in the comics and had been a thing in multiple universes. Apart from being a master of all things machines, he's also a bit of a magician and has the ability to nail 80s fashion like no other. And Storm, well, we know who she is, so in this video we will explore what their relationship was like in the comics, what their status now as a couple, and where all this would lead in the future episodes of X-Men 97. So without further ado, let's begin. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. What was Forge and Storm's relationship like in the comics? The love story of Forge and Storm goes as far back as the 80s. In the 1984 comic Uncanny X-Men issue 185, Henry Gyrick, an agent of the US government's National Security Council, seized the neutralizer that Forge had built. The device could potentially leave any mutant without their powers, thereby neutralizing them. You see, he wanted to use it on Rogue, who was falsely accused of killing a SHIELD agent. However, Forge was dead against the use of the neutralizer because he did not know how the device would act against a mutant. He did not know if it would eliminate a mutant's powers temporarily, permanently, or prove fatal. In the physical scuffle between Forge and Gyrick, our girl, or rather goddess Storm, became the unexpected target. Following this, Storm fell into a river and Forge rescued her from it. The man was extremely guilty about what had happened to Storm, and rightly so, it was all his doing. So he brought her to his Eagle Plaza, a rather futuristic home in Dallas, Texas, where Storm recovered. Over the course of time they spent there, the two of them grew extremely close and almost fell in love, but Storm soon learned that Forge had created a neutralizer that took away her powers. Of course, she was furious and felt betrayed. After this, Storm left his place, but returned 2 issues later in Uncanny X-Men 187 when she learned that Forge was under attack of the Dire Wraiths. Although she helped him against his arch-enemy, the Adversary, she could not bring herself to forgive the man who brought her serious grief. Forge, on the other hand, had fallen too deeply in Storm's love, so much so that he would create holograms of Storm in his Eagle Plaza. By now, he tried to improve his neutralizer so that it would target the Wraiths and negate their mystical abilities. However, he still felt extremely guilty over what he had done to Storm, although indirectly. Forge's adventures with the Wraiths and the Adversary went on for quite a while, but he meets Storm again in Uncanny X-Men issue 224. This time around, he was seen on the top of this mountain, where it seemed that he was trying to open a dimensional portal that would allow demons to arrive on Earth. Storm had been manipulated by the Adversary, and she ended up stabbing Forge right in the chest, only to later realize that he was in fact trying to close the portal instead of opening it. Nevertheless, the issue 225 of Uncanny X-Men, the Adversary trapped the lovelorn couple in the demon dimension before taking over Dallas and warping space and time. In this other dimension, the two of them spent a year. Their bond became stronger. They resolved their differences and expressed the love that the two shared for each other. Eventually, Forge used parts of his own cybernetic leg to create another device that allowed Storm to get her powers back. She then used her powers to energize a portal which led back to her dimension, more specifically, Earth. You see, all of this was bound to ignite old flame, which also meant that the two entered a romantic relationship. That's cute. As they spent more time with each other, they grew closer and closer, so much so that Forge wanted to take the ultimate relationship leap and propose to Storm. However, it was all too much for Storm. I mean, up until now, Storm's love life has been like super rich, ultra charming, uber powerful guy takes her away, proposes her, and she goes, nope, nada, not a chance. She was a goddess who only knew power and doing things her way, and probably never thought about something like settling down. So yeah, it was all too much for her. She needed time to let it sink in and to process things. Forge was okay though, with Storm's silence. However, when he asked Jean to give him a bit of a heads up about Storm, even she hesitates. He was like, if the best friend is hesitating, that definitely something is up. And that's when he kinda lost his shit and patience. Not only did he take back his proposal, he also said a few things that were supposed to hurt Storm. Then there was Bishop, who had traveled through time to reach the X-Mansion. This caused some level of jealousy and doubt to creep within the mind of Forge. So what does Forge do? Well, like any self-respecting immature man-child, he leaves Storm without waiting for an answer or asking a second time. Poor guy did not even speak to Storm mutant to mutant. He believed that she was not really interested, but the saddest part is that she would have said yes to him. All she wanted was a bit of time. However, Marvel Universe is not just one universe, right? So in other realities, the two of them had better relationships. In fact, in one of these universes, they even had a daughter named Aurora and a son named Naze on Earth 61029. It's another things altogether that Storm is killed by Nimrod, a super advanced Sentinel prototype from Earth 811. In fact, even in the Exile saga, there was one reality in which Forge and Storm were married. If we talk about Mutant X, it had them as lovers, but the Master of Machines let a vampiric Storm feed off him. Now that's love. If it's not like this, I don't want it. But in the OG reality of Earth 616, Storm married the Black Panther, and Forge was disheartened. He did have a fling with Mystique, though, before deciding to get over Storm once and for all.
An old friend of Charles Xavier. I'd like to help you get back what you've lost.
What's up with X-Men 97's Forge and Storm? So in the third episode of X-Men 97, we find Madeline Pryor, the clone of Jean Grey created by Mr. Sinister, attacking the X-Mansion. However, Jean Grey connects with Madeline telepathically and makes her see the folly in her actions. After this, Madeline, as Goblin Queen, and Cyclops go to Sinister to save their son Nathan, whom Sinister had not only abducted, but also exposed to the techno-organic virus. While this is the main arc that will continue to be explored in the upcoming episodes, another subplot started in the previous episode in which Storm lost her powers because of a shot from the Executioner. Once again, feeling that she had lost everything, Storm left the X-Mansion. She ends up in a Texas bar where she meets Forge. He approaches her and tells her that he's an old friend of Charles. Since any friend of Charles is a friend of his, he offers to help her with her condition and tells her that he might just be able to bring back her powers. Of course, this was the glimmer of light at the end of a tunnel, the silver lining, and Storm holds onto it like a rose held onto that wooden door at the end of Titanic. Now they go back to Forge's place where he cooks her bison chili and gives her the complete boyfriend experience. You know, a dinner date, they even go for a horse ride and all that. Anyway, what I mean to say is that the two of them started to connect on an emotional level, and this connection was running deep like it had true love and substance.
I am Storm, mistress of the elements. Rise, winds, and...
Will Storm get her powers back? Since Forge had lost a leg and Storm lost her powers, both of them felt incomplete. They were finally feeling a bit more complete thanks to each other's company, but here too, they have a bit of a fallout because the tech that the Executioner had used was actually based on a blueprint created by Forge. Furthermore, we don't know for real why he's so into helping Storm and what his deal is with mutants in a world that's not exactly throwing them a welcome party. He's got to spill on why he's in this game. But if there's a brain big enough to hack into Storm's DNA and undo the mess that the gun made of her powers, it's Forge. Getting Storm back to her Storm-bringing best, that's the dream. And Forge just might be the guy to make it happen.
I love you.
You meant to make me a...
Where would this relationship lead? Needless to say, Forge's romance with Storm started with a huge mistake. Forge creates the power-stripping gun, not knowing it'd hit Storm or that he'd fall head over heels for her. Mistake haunted him in the comics, and it drove him to fix her powers and wipe out all power neutralizers for good. Their stories got all the feels, mixing guilt, effort, and the big question, will Storm ever forgive him? Can Forge fix what he broke and find redemption? His journey to make things right showed fans a different side of Storm too. She wasn't just a powerhouse, she had a heart big enough to forgive. It made her more humane and relatable. But what about Storm giving Forge another shot? Well, I think that's on the cards, but it should take some time to happen. You see, Bishop has gone to his future with Nathan to save him from the techno-organic virus. This means that there's a slot open in the X-Men waiting to be filled. Bishop could sweep in and join the X-Men along with the return of Storm, of course, after she gets her powers back, which might happen in the next episode. Even in the past, Forge had sent Bishop in the future to stop the techno-organic virus, and that was a time when the love between Forge and Storm bloomed the best. Now, the current status quo of X-Men 97 screams future Forge comeback, plus with no Black Panther in the mix and no Bishop-Storm romance, the tweaks in the X-Men show might just spell a win for Forge and Storm. Could be they're setting up for a feel-good ending for these two? Well, no, I don't think so. I think Forge and Storm would have a bittersweet ending, just like in the comics. This series feels a bit hopeful and positive with Madeline parting ways with the X-Men on a positive note. Storm's getting her groove back with Forge by her side, which could mean Jean's about to get her sister back for some much-needed support. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.